The auctioneer's gavel slammed down like a thunderclap, silencing the restless crowd in the dusty Wyoming fairground. A man in a tattered coat, his face hardened by cruelty, stood beside 6 trembling children, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. The youngest, a girl no older than 5, clutched a rag doll as tears streaked her dirt-smudged cheeks. The sign above them read, "Family for Sale." The year was 1878, and in the lawless West, such horrors weren't unheard of, but they still churned the stomachs of those gathered. Whispers rippled through the crowd at disgust, pity, disbelief, but no one stepped forward. No one, that is, until a stranger in a worn duster coat, his face shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat, raised his hand and said, "I'll take them all." His name was Samuel Carver, a cattle rancher from the Montana Territory, known more for his quiet demeanor than his wealth. At 42, Samuel was a widower, his heart still raw from losing his wife and infant son to fever 3 years prior. He'd come to the auction seeking livestock, not souls, but when he saw those children, scrawny, frightened, and betrayed by their own father, he couldn't walk away. The father, a drunkard named Amos Tate, had gambled away his land and, in a final act of depravity, decided to sell his children to settle his debts. Samuel's bid of $200, his entire savings, stunned the crowd. Amos smirked, pocketed the money, and disappeared into the horizon, leaving his children behind without a backward glance. Samuel knelt before the children, his voice gentle but firm. "I ain't your father, but I'll keep you safe. You're coming with me." The eldest, 16-year-old Clara, eyed him warily, her arms protectively around her siblings, 14-year-old Jonah, 12-year-old Mary, 10-year-old Thomas, 8-year-old Eliza, and little 5-year-old Sophie. They were a ragged bunch, malnourished and dressed in threadbare clothes, their trust in adults shattered. Samuel loaded them into his wagon, their meager belongings, a few clothes and Sophie's doll, tucked beside them. The crowd watched in silence as the wagon rolled north toward Samuel's ranch, whispers already spreading about the man who'd bought a family. At the journey to Samuel's ranch was the first challenge. The children were skittish, barely speaking, their eyes darting as if expecting betrayal. Clara, the de facto leader, kept her siblings close, whispering to them to stay quiet and obey. Samuel tried to ease their fears, offering them bread and jerky from his pack, but only Sophie took it, nibbling timidly. The road was rough, and a sudden storm turned the trail to mud, forcing them to camp under a tarp for 2 nights. During those long, cold hours, Samuel shared stories of his late wife, Ellen, and her dream of a home filled with laughter. "She'd have loved you all," he said softly, his eyes distant. Clara listened but didn't soften. "Why'd you buy us?" she finally asked, her voice sharp. Samuel met her gaze. "Because no one else did." Arriving at the ranch, the children faced a new world. Samuel's home was modest but sturdy, nestled in a valley with rolling hills and a creek nearby. The ranch hands, a gruff trio named Hank, Pete, and young Jimmy, were skeptical of the new arrivals. "You ain't got the means to feed 6 more mouths," Hank warned. Samuel ignored him, but the concern wasn't baseless. His savings were gone, and the ranch was barely breaking even after a harsh winter killed half his herd. The children, too, struggled to adjust. Clara resisted Samuel's kindness, suspecting he wanted labor or worse. Jonah, angry and rebellious, stole tools to test Samuel's temper. The younger ones clung to Clara, unsure of their place. The first major challenge was trust. Samuel gave the children chores, feeding chickens, tending the garden, but didn't force them. He let them eat at their own pace, noticing how they hoarded food, fearing it would vanish. One night, Sophie woke screaming from a nightmare about her father. Samuel sat with her, humming a lullaby Ellen used to sing, until she fell back asleep. Slowly, the younger children warmed to him. Eliza began trailing him like a shadow, fascinated by his work with the horses. Thomas, curious and bright, asked endless questions about cattle. But Clara and Jonah remained distant, their scars deeper. The second challenge was the community's judgment. Word of Samuel's purchase spread, and neighbors gossiped. Some called him a saint, others, a fool. The town preacher, Reverend Holt, visited, urging Samuel to send the children to an orphanage. "You're a single man, Carver. This ain't proper." Samuel's jaw tightened. "They're my family now." But the whispers grew louder when Amos Tate reappeared, drunk and belligerent, claiming he'd been cheated and demanding the children back. A tense standoff at the town saloon ended with Samuel's fist meeting Amos's jaw, but the incident fueled more rumors. Clara overheard the talk and confronted Samuel. "They think you're no better than him," she said, tears in her eyes. "Are you?" Samuel's heart ached, but he only said, "You'll see who I am." The third challenge was survival. A drought hit, drying the creek and threatening the remaining cattle. Samuel worked tirelessly, digging a new well with the ranch hands, but funds were tight. Clara, seeing his struggle, began organizing the children to help. She taught Mary and Eliza to preserve vegetables, while Jonah and Thomas repaired fences. Their efforts were small but vital, and Samuel noticed Clara's leadership. One evening, as they sat around a fire, he handed her a ledger. "You're good with numbers. Help me keep track." It was the first time Clara smiled, a flicker of pride breaking through her guard. The turning point came when Samuel fell ill with fever, the same that had taken his wife. For days, he lay weak, and the ranch teetered on collapse. Clara, stepping into the role of caretaker, organized the children and even rallied the reluctant ranch hands. Jonah, once defiant, rode to town for medicine, risking a storm. When Samuel recovered, he found the ranch running smoothly under Clara's command. "You didn't need me," he said, half joking. Clara shook her head. "We needed you first." What Samuel did next stunned the West. Instead of adopting the children formally, which would have been simpler, he petitioned the territorial court to grant them his land as equal heirs. He argued they'd earned it, working alongside him to save the ranch. The judge, moved by the children's testimony, especially Clara's fierce defense of Samuel, agreed. The news spread like wildfire. A bachelor rancher had given 6 orphan children not just a home, but a legacy. Reporters from Denver to San Francisco wrote of Samuel's act, calling it a testament to family forged not by blood, but by choice. The final challenge was healing. Clara, still haunted by her father's betrayal, struggled to accept Samuel's love. One night, she confessed her fear. "What if you leave us too?" Samuel took her hand, placing it on his heart. "I'm here, Clara. For all of you." Over time, the children thrived. Jonah became a skilled rancher, Mary a teacher, Thomas a veterinarian, Eliza a painter, and Sophie, now a bright teenager, dreamed of studying law. The ranch prospered, a symbol of their shared resilience. Years later, as Samuel's hair grayed, the family gathered for Sophie's wedding. The valley echoed with laughter, just as Ellen had envisioned. Clara, now a mother herself, raised a glass to Samuel. "You didn't just save us," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You showed us what family means." The West remembered Samuel Carver not as a hero, but as a man who saw 6 broken souls and gave them a future. His legacy wasn't the land or the cattle, but the unbreakable bond he built, proving that love could redeem even the darkest beginnings. The story of Samuel and the Tate children leaves a timeless message. Family isn't defined by blood, but by the courage to stand by those who need you most. In a world quick to judge and slow to act, one person's choice to care can change everything.